The great chamber of the Galaxy Council thrummed with tension as the human envoy stood before the gathered delegates. His words had been calm, measured, but beneath them lay an iron conviction that unsettled the ancient species who believed themselves untouchable. Humanity had come not to beg, but to warn, and the Council despised the insolence of a young species speaking as though it had weight in galactic matters. The sentence came swiftly, a show of power meant to crush defiance before it spread. With a cold decree, the Council executed the envoy. Not with ceremony, but with disdain, an execution streamed across their channels as though humanity were nothing more than a lesson to others. The chamber echoed with silence after, the kind born not of peace but of arrogance. Far from the Council, Earth received the transmission. Billions watched the final moments of their envoy's life, his dignity unbroken even as his captors carried out their sentence. There was no outrage. There were no tears. Only a cold, collective stillness that stretched across continents. Humanity, long underestimated, had been given its final justification. Within hours, every channel belonging to the Council flickered with a message. A human voice, calm, sharp, deliberate, spoke across the void. It carried no threats, no pleas, no theatrics. It simply declared, "Protocol Annihilation is now active. You chose this." The feed cut, leaving a galaxy trembling at words it did not yet understand. The delegates laughed at first, mocking the bravado of a species barely admitted into the lower echelons of galactic society. To them, Earth was fragile, a blue marble clinging to life in the void. What could they truly bring against the empires that spanned hundreds of star systems? Yet even as their laughter echoed, their networks began to flicker, their fleets began to report anomalies, and their outposts fell silent one by one. Humanity had never shown its full hand. The Council had seen only what they were meant to see: shuttles, colonies, trade vessels, and fragile diplomats. Hidden behind the quiet exterior, humanity had built something ancient races had long forgotten: weapons not for deterrence, but for extermination. It had been forged in the crucible of Earth's endless wars, honed by centuries of conflict that had shaped humanity into a predator wrapped in civilization's cloak. The first world to vanish was on the Council's rim. No fleets were detected entering orbit, no bombardment was tracked. One moment, it was there; the next, its atmosphere boiled away, leaving nothing but a scarred husk. The panic rippled outward. The Council demanded explanations, demanded answers, but the silence from their military networks only deepened the dread. Soon came the whispers. Human sleeper fleets hidden in void space. Nanet storms seeded in the heart of Council systems. War engines that had never been shown in parade or exchange now moved with purpose. They struck not with the clumsy force of intimidation but with surgical precision, cutting out eyes, ears, and veins of the Council's power structure. The elder species had grown complacent. Their wars were fought with treaties and sanctions, their navies more symbolic than functional. Against humanity's merciless onslaught, their centuries of peace proved a weakness, not a strength. They had forgotten how to fight an enemy that meant every word when it promised annihilation. On Earth, there was no celebration. The declaration had not been made in fury, but in duty. Humanity had come to the stars seeking cooperation, but the death of their envoy erased that final tether. Now, war was not vengeance, it was inevitability. The entire species moved as one, guided by protocols written long before they ever stepped into the galactic stage. The Council attempted to rally. Emergency coalitions formed, fleets assembled, weapons dredged from ancient arsenals. Yet everywhere they turned, humanity was already there, always one step ahead, always striking where it hurt most. It was as though the humans had studied each civilization's pulse, waiting only for the moment to stop it cold. A delegate screamed before the chamber, demanding to know how humanity could wield such power. The answer came not from humans, but from another species, old enough to remember Earth's early transmissions. They told us what they were, the elder race whispered. We thought they were boasting. We thought their history was only savagery. We did not understand that it was preparation. Worlds burned. Stars became grave markers. The Council, once the absolute authority of the galaxy, found itself hunted. Each envoy sent to sue for peace never returned. Each plea for mercy was met with silence. Humanity was no longer speaking. Humanity was finishing what had been started. As months turned to years, the great galactic map shifted. Where Council space once stretched in dominance, there was only absence, systems dark, planets dead, fleets missing. And still, the humans pressed forward, not stopping, not slowing, until the Council itself was the last beacon left. Inside the Grand Chamber, where arrogance once reigned, silence now dominated. The surviving delegates huddled in fear as Earth's fleet surrounded their homeworld. From orbit, human vessels waited, their weapons humming with restrained fury. No ultimatum was issued. No conditions were given. Humanity had already spoken. Years ago, when their envoy fell, the skies above the Council homeworld ignited. Fire and steel rained down, consuming every last vestige of the empire that had dared to execute a human diplomat. The galaxy watched from afar, paralyzed, unable to intervene. All that was left was the realization that the predator had been among them all along, and they had mistaken it for prey. When the fire dimmed, there was nothing left of the Council. Humanity did not linger to gloat, nor to conquer. They left only silence behind, a void where once stood the mighty rulers of the stars. The lesson was burned into the galaxy's memory. Earth did not forget. Earth did not forgive. The galaxy now understood why humanity called it Annihilation Protocol. It was not war. It was erasure. And those who had once mocked the humans now whispered a single truth across the stars: never again provoke the species that had walked through hell for millennia and learned to call it home. Humanity did not need the Council's recognition. They did not seek approval. They carried with them their history, their scars, and their fire. And wherever they went in the cosmos, the shadow of the Annihilation Protocol followed, ensuring that the death of one envoy would never again be repeated. The ashes of the Council's homeworld drifted in the void like a warning carved into the stars themselves. Entire civilizations across the spiral arm watched the silent feed of destruction, their leaders frozen in disbelief. The Great Council, once thought eternal, had been undone in the span of years by the very species they had dismissed as naive upstart. Fear spread faster than any fleet. Worlds once loyal to the Council found themselves abandoned, cut off from what little order had held the galaxy together. Trade collapsed, alliances shattered, and a vacuum of power yawned wide. Yet none dared step forward to claim the mantle. The shadow of Earth loomed over every throne and council chamber, whispering caution into ambitious ears. Across distant colonies, alien citizens murmured of humanity not as a partner, nor as an enemy, but as an inevitability. Some prayed for their attention never to fall upon them. Others, quietly and with trembling resolve, began to reach out, sending emissaries, not of arrogance, but of humility. They came with offerings, not demands, desperate to show respect before humanity's gaze ever turned their way. On Earth, there was no triumphal parade. The people carried the weight of what had been done. The protocol had not been invoked lightly, nor without sacrifice. Billions knew their envoy's name, spoken with reverence, a reminder of the cost of disrespect. For humanity, the war was not victory but necessity, one they bore with the grim acceptance of a people who had always known that survival required strength. Even so, whispers began to emerge among the younger generations. Was the protocol a curse as much as it was a weapon? Could humanity ever truly step into the stars as builders if every race looked upon them as destroyers? Or was this the destiny written into their nature, the eternal predators of the galaxy, walking forward with fire in hand?